Good morning, grand rising, buenos dias, bonjour, wherever you are in the world. Happy to be with you on this Thursday, Spiritual Matters Thursday at the Daily Huddle. I'm your host, Dr. Monica Ogando, flanked by an amazing guest, Detrick DeBurr, who I will introduce in just a little bit. Before we get started, though, I do have a quote for you. Now, it's hard to find a joke on Tantra. So this will not be the day that I break my pattern and give you a joke instead of a quote. The quote today is from Slavoj Žižek, which says, our biological body itself is a form of hardware that needs reprogramming through Tantra, like a new spiritual software, which can release or unblock its potential. I'm going to say it again, because that was a mouthful. Our biological body itself is a form of hardware that needs reprogramming through Tantra, like a new spiritual software, which can release or unblock our potential. Welcome to Thursday Spiritual Matters. Good morning once again, everybody. So excited that you are here with us. I'm your host, Dr. Monica Ogando, and today we're going to be talking about creating Tantra in your day-to-day life, particularly because, Valentine's Day is coming and you might want to start by creating Tantra in your Valentine's Day date. But I'm not trying to get in your grown people business. I'm just trying to give you some tools so that you can live your best life. So we're going to get grounded in today's moment before we get started. So I'm going to start with our lovely Tara Heaton, one of my most favorite short hair ladies. I love her so much. Tara, where are you and what are you grateful for?
Oh, where am I? I came here, right here, exactly where I want to be and nowhere else. And today I am feeling grateful for grace.
Lovely. I love that. I've been in a conversation about grace over the past few days myself. I love that. All right, Chase, what time is it? And who are you going to hug today?
Grand Rising. Oh, the time is now, as always, right now, right now, in the present. And I'm going to hug myself today. I need some hugs today. For sure.
I love it. Okay, well, here it is. I'm going to hug myself on your behalf, too. Yeah.
Oh,
one
so
of the things
needed.
that I tell my nephew, I love myself so much that I can love you so much. You know that song?
Ah,
yes.
That's
I won't
nice.
sing it to you. Not this early in the morning, child. It was
Thank
still
you.
single digits. But I'm glad that you are right here, right now, and that you are going to hug yourself. Please hug yourself.
Thank you.
On my behalf as well.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
All right. So who has heard, put a 1 in the chat, if you've even so much as heard of Tantra. If you know what that looks, not Tara, Tantra. Although Tara's like, honey, we are one and the same. If you've heard of Tantra, put a 1 in the chat. I want to know where you're at with it. And I'm going to introduce our guest because Detrick DeBurr is a masculine empowerment coach, and his current focus areas are men, money, and mastery. You might have heard me mention this before. He's the one that's taken the mantle on that program. He is a student of Tibetan 5 Element Tantra with the Institute of Authentic Tantra, the world's only government certified Tantra training program. He's a trained facilitator with Sacred Sons, a community of men committed to healthy masculinity. And he's also a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. This is too light a purple to honor the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, but you understand my spirit was in the right place. He's also a software development trainer and runs Game Time Giving Inc. He holds a certification in startup fundraising and a design certification in gamification. In other words, the Tantra situation is like a right brain thing and then left brain things by day, you know, like software development, computer stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So he's got it all. He's bilingual in that way. Welcome to the Daily Huddle, Detrick.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
We are excited that you are here. So why don't we start by talking about what Tantra actually is? Give us a working definition of Tantra so that we can start from the same sheet of music.
You know, for starters, you know, Tantra is one of those things that it's very personal to the person. It's almost that it's a very philosophical, you know, because I hear the question, what is it? And you'll talk to 5 people and you'll get 5 different definitions, right? It's like, what is the meaning of life? You know? The reason I think that is because, first of all, like a martial art, there are very different styles and lineages and come-froms with it. And so at the end of the day, it's what does it mean to that particular person? So, and Tantra really is like just an umbrella term, right? So, but we'll establish a working definition today for us. For me, Tantra or being tantric is anytime you are present and aware with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Present and aware with what you're doing. And so one of the main things, especially with Tibetan 5 element Tantra, for example, it's all about the balancing of the elements, fire, water, space, you know, et cetera. So, but our working definition in the working definition that I work with is being present and aware. So I could be in the kitchen cooking, but when I am right there and nowhere else, not thinking about tomorrow and thinking about what I did this morning, or thinking about what I'm going to do tonight, but I'm right here with the spoon in hand, stirring the pot. Present, feeling that, smelling that, experiencing that, that's a tantric experience. And the idea here is that when we are present and aware, our senses are heightened in whatever we're doing. Mm-hmm. And when the senses are heightened, then we tend to appreciate that thing a whole lot more. Now, it just so happens that in the West, in what we'll call neo-tantra, it's been very, very sexual in its approach, right? But I would argue that most people who practice tantra, probably 80% of the time, they're by themselves and they're in a state of meditation, they're in connection, they're reconnecting. Now, what happens with that is when they are with someone else, it just happens to be a lot more intimate. When they're with someone else, they just tend to have a lot stronger connection. And when they're having a sexual experience, it just tends to be a lot more pleasurable. So the idea of the sexual aspects of it just happen to be the result. Is that a good way to think about it? Think about, you just go work out, you go work out, and you go work out. And then the result is you just end up a lot stronger.
Yeah, so Tantra, from what help me understand.
Yeah.
Based on what you just said, Tantra is a way of being present
and aware.
Body. And you can do that by yourself, or you can do it in relationship with someone else. When you do it in relationship with someone else, 2 people being present in their bodies and in relation to somebody else heightens the sensory experience.
Absolutely. Pleasure. And quite honestly, I encourage people. The place to start always is with yourself, because that's usually where the disconnect is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose we all start tantric from birth, because if you've ever watched a baby, that's all they're doing. They're like exploring their body, touching themselves,
exactly.
touching things in their mouth. They're like, and what's this? And what's this? And what's this? And it doesn't matter whether it's deadly or not. Exploratory thing.
Right. They're tasting, they're touching, they are exploring, they are getting to know who they are. More importantly, they're getting to know themselves relative to other people. You know, it's all wonderful at the end of the day. And, you know, we look at them and we enjoy every minute of it, every single minute of it. And then somewhere along the way, through life, through experiences, we kind of lose that, right? We just lose that. And so a lot of the practices around Tantra are all about breaking through those blocks and those barriers that we have created, put up over time, and get back to that, what many would call, I guess, an infinite self. You know, uninhibited, unimpaired, but we keep that in balance. Now, the beautiful part is once we do that for ourselves, coming in contact with someone else, that's contagious. Like I said, it's a lot more intimate. The conversations are just a lot deeper, not because I'm doing this practice or that practice, but because that's the result of this practice or that practice, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do we, one, recognize the Tantra that we already participate in, and two, how do we take it to the next level? So
Yeah,
that we work with consciousness and awareness.
Sure. I guess for starters, what we have to do is there's a couple of things. Number one, honor and be perfectly okay with the idea that pleasure is our birthright. Pleasure is our guidance system. Pleasure lets us know that I'm going in the right direction. And when I experience this other thing, right, it's just a guide. It's a guide. That's all it is. And so I think especially as we become adults, we get to a point where we like, okay, I put play down. I don't play anymore, right? I don't, that's for kids, or this is what I used to do when I was a young person. And we have to recapture that, I think. Just recapture that. That's a great place to start, recapturing those things we enjoy. Yeah, playfulness, but more importantly, being in the present, because that's what you were when you were 2 years old or 3 years old, unless you were in some type of traumatic event, of course. And even then you were present.
Right. Okay, so start with playfulness, start with curiosity. About what?
About what you're feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things in Tantra is that comes up quite often is where you are on the pleasure scale. And so you may be sitting there sipping a cup of coffee, and have you given consideration to how pleasurable is this cup of coffee? I mean, is it really warm enough? Is it really? Is the chair that I'm sitting in really comfortable enough? I mean, I may have just decided to make do with how I feel. And so once you can identify that the chair that I'm sitting in has a lump in it on the left side, and I feel it, but I've just decided to, it's just chairs. When I say, what can I do to make this just a little bit more pleasurable? You have just turned that into a tantric experience. Oh. That cup of coffee that's, I like my coffee warm, and it's just a little cool. What can I do? Do I add more warm water? Whatever you do to warm it up. And so it's, and being perfectly okay with that for yourself. It's perfectly okay for you to make that adjustment in your life. So but to do that, you have to be present. We have to be present and feel where we are, instead of squashing down our own emotions. And I'll get to me later, after I take care of the kids, after I take care of my job, after I take care of my spouse, after I take care of the dog or the cat, then I'll take care of me. And I'm saying, let's do it. Let's flip that around. Let me take care of me and experience pleasure so that I can take care of you.
Now, one of the things that I think, because I'm already noticing my own resistance in what you're talking about, I'm observing, I'm being present to my feelings,
Amen.
like you suggest. And one of the things that I notice is my own resistance to like, okay, but I got things to do, like pleasure and curiosity and stuff like that. That's for children. And that's why we did it when we were children. But now I have meetings and bills to pay and things to do. And maybe I can do it. It feels indulgent to go through life being present and focused on pleasure when I just need to get some stuff over with. And then I can have pleasure later when I get home and when I'm about to go to sleep or when I'm with my, husband or et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And I guess my question is, can you?
Oh, see, now you're getting into grown people's business.
I'm saying really, 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 can you? I guess what I'm saying is that if pleasure is a guide for you, and you suppress it and suppress it and suppress it, and I'll get to it, like you said, when I'm done with this. Right. I'm saying just the opposite. I'm saying that we show up in our best way. I believe, LeBron James just broke this all-time scoring record. I believe he did that because he enjoys playing basketball. I mean, he on the court when he's touching the ball, He is loving it. And that is the reason that he can show up and be so phenomenal. So you don't go be phenomenal and then go have pleasure. No, 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 no. I'm saying just the opposite. I'm saying those of us who have found out how to be present, how to be aware, in touch with ourselves, we shine when we do.
Right.
That meeting, we walk into that meeting and now we're able to get our points across clearly. We're being authentic with ourselves. That's what makes the meeting successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to suppress this natural built-in guidance system,
Mm-hmm.
right? To take on this intellectual guidance system that may or may not be right. It changes every day, depending on which news channel you watch. It might be right sometime, it might not be, but so is a broken clock.
Yeah. Right.
But our bodies are right every single time.
Mm-hmm.
The only question is, do we trust it? But it's only gotten us up to today.
Yeah.
Consistently, or otherwise we wouldn't be here. So it has worked. So I guess my response to that is that do we want to use this innate divine wisdom that that's built in, or do we want to suppress it and then someday in the future when something happens magical, then we're going to go enjoy life? I guess that's what they call retirement or whatever. But my experience has been then you die.
Okay. So then how would you go about, what are some of the basic steps that one could take to plan a Tantra experience with a loved one or even by themselves?
Yes. I mean, well, I always like to start with meditation, and I'm just using that term meditation loosely. It could mean a lot of things to a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
but just centering yourself and getting in touch with yourself, and how you do that, completely is up to you. But I'll just use that word meditation because it's a well-known term. But we can start with something as simple as our breath and just breathing. I mean, how many of us this morning have actually felt the coolness of the air coming into our nostrils?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The warmth, right, of just your own skin. You're 98 at least to 0.3 degrees right now. Have you felt that? So that's a great place to start. Okay, just starting to touch the hand on the heart, the head on the belly, and just taking 5 seconds to say, I want to know what a breath feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we take them for granted until they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Till we don't have one. And then all of a sudden it becomes the most important thing on the planet.
Yeah, right.
I'm saying let's pay attention to it now, and those little things like that. That's just one example.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned with a partner, but even with a partner, just taking it, stopping and looking at them. I mean, have you noticed the crow's feet in their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
right, on the corner of their eyes? When was the last time you stopped and looked at that, that one side of their mouth is a little further up than the other side?
Mm-hmm.
When you paid attention to that, right? Those things like that. And this doesn't take a lot of time, but here's the important part. Once you see that person and are present in there, my experience has been they feel it. It's difficult to be angry with a person who just looks you in your eyes and sees you.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult. And even if you want to be angry with that anger subsides, because we all at the end of the day want to be seen, want to be heard, want to be touched, want to be felt. We want to be experienced.
Yeah.
So what we are talking about doing here is how do we, in very simple ways, experience ourselves, number one, more importantly, and then experience the person across from us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
What's their scent without the perfume?
Mm-hmm. All right. So meditation, eye contact.
Yeah, meditation, eye contact. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were talking about or the topic here was talking about Valentine's and the, you know, the date nights. I think one of the things, a lot of times we don't talk enough anymore. Now, here's the thing. We use a lot of words, but we may not talk. And what I mean by that is by just sharing where we are. Case in point, you know, what am I afraid of with you? I mean, does the person that you love know what you're afraid of when they are with you? And there is something, I'm sure. What is it that in this interaction, we're sitting here, maybe we're having dinner, what am I expecting from you? You know, am I expecting you to order, you know, a glass of wine? Am I expecting it? But just say it. It's not this part is not an argument. This is not to prove if you're right or wrong.
Right, it's just sharing.
Really, it's just taking out of my brain, right, what I have perceived and what I feel, and here it is. This is what I am, okay? And you not judge it, you not give it any positive or negative, but merely this is what it is. Being seen is probably the thing that we long for in these connections and in these dates that we have. But instead, it's a lot easier for us to go to a restaurant and enjoy the food. Right. And then go to the movie and then enjoy the movie. And then ride down and look out and look at the moon and enjoy the sights. Yeah. Right. And miss the person that you spent the last 3 hours with.
Okay. Is that Gio, you have a question?
Hey, yes.
Hey.
From a different part of the world, but I'm still here.
Yes.
That's been a really fascinating question, an inquiry. Thank you. I wanted to get your Detrick. I wanted to get your thoughts on some of the places where I feel you're pointing to is in this developing this muscle or this capacity to be with another human being, right? To get beyond, to go beyond the survival of what else are we going to talk about? You know, but rather actually be with someone. And I was wondering, in your experience and as you create this conversation, what do you say gets in the way? What do you say gets in the way of between two human beings that it makes it so difficult to just be present to another human being? What would you say? What can you point to that is in the way?
That's a great question.
Because one last thought. Because when you say, you know, be with someone, you know, go beyond the usual conversation, listen. The request where you're pointing to is, it's not rocket science. It's not like, oh my gosh, I've never heard that before. What? But the practice is like creating a rocket science. It's very not intuitive. What do you say it's in the way?
Well, first of all, I'll say it's extremely intuitive, and then you may have forgotten it, and I forgot it. For example, when we came out of our mother's womb, we didn't know any English. We didn't have a job. And we made one of the most probably powerful connections that you've ever made in your life. Ever. Especially if you've ever seen this, right? Most powerful connections. Matter of fact, you've been able to get this person who you've added zero value to for all practical purposes. You hadn't paid a bill. To give literally themselves completely over to you.
Detrick, on that same thought, Detrick, I have a 6-year-old, right?
Yes.
That which you say, it is actually intuitive. I really get that. And actually, I get what you're saying. But she is by far not committed to being present to me. Like, it is not intuitive to her at all. You know, I tell Maya, her name is Maya, I tell Maya, we're going to do a be with exercise. And she's like, what does that mean? You're going to look into my eyes, just wait for a minute, and then so we can connect. And she says, oh, no, not the be with exercise, not that. So, I have certain influence over her, so we get to do it, and the experience is just wonderful.
Yeah.
But then, I have this emotional connection, and to do that with her, I found that with other human beings, a lot of things are in the way, and I don't really have that muscle to do it constantly or easily or on Valentine's. Anyway, that's kind of like what I was pointing to, Detrick. I apologize for re-guiding the conversation.
No, it's perfectly fine. I think that what the short answer is remembering. That was where I was going with this. I was saying that this is nothing. When people say, I'm going to go learn Tantra, I say, do you mean you're going to remember it?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's nothing new to learn. What we may have done, and I'll just use your 6-year-old as an example, if that's okay, right? We realize that there's a world out there, right? We realize that, I have to survive. And so we come up with machinations, depending on where you live. You learn how to lie, you learn or how to say just right and twist and turn to get your quote unquote needs met, right? And we call that growing up, right? And then we become quote unquote this thing that's called a mature adult. And now we have all these tricks of the trade to make it happen, to get the job, to keep the husband, to keep the wife, to keep the children, whatever, right? But these are all just machinations, right? Tools, so to speak, that we've learned, right? That get this job done. But I will say that original tool, that original connection, it's still there. So it's about remembering. So what gets in the way? I think the word that I share with men, because I talk 99% with men, is about being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Right? Just being vulnerable. Just being, again, I am afraid that you're not going to like what I'm going to say.
Mm.
I'm afraid that you're not going to like my hair or my skin. I'm afraid of that. And me being able to say that and not adding anything else to the feeling. I'm not saying I'm afraid and I want to fight you. I'm not saying I'm afraid and I want to have an argument. I just need you to see this thing that I'm experiencing. And by the way, I'm not tied up by this thing. I'm going to continue to talk to you. I'm not held down by this, but I want to be vulnerable and put this on the table so that you can see that despite I'm showing up, despite I'm talking to you this way, despite we can be friends, I have this fear.
Mm-hmm.
Got that.
Beautiful.
But I know other people have some questions. Thank you. Thank you, Detrick.
Cece,
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a beautiful question. Remembering.
What you got?
Hey, yes, I find this quite interesting. Being present with somebody takes some action, and to wipe out all the behaviors that I learned in the past that I associated with whatever experience that I experienced back in the past. But to be present is to be with somebody today at that moment and to really listen to them as well as myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I learned through this. So thank you so much for sharing.
Beautiful.
You're welcome. I think it's important for us to appreciate that. And I just use the word fear and I just said, I'm afraid. It's okay for me to be afraid and still be present. It's okay for me to have been upset with you last week, still feel a sense of anger with you today, and still be able to have a conversation with you. These are not either ors. We're very complex. We have that capacity. We have the capacity to hold more than one emotion at a time. What we don't want to do, and I think this is a lot of times what we are experiencing and seeing out in the world today, is that the nervous system is just overwhelmed by some emotion, and then we go act on that, and so that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, for the most part, when we're reasonably healthy individuals, we can hold more than one emotion at a time and just honor it. It's just something that it's like I have a shirt on and I have shoes on, okay, and the fact that I have a shirt on does not negate the fact that I have shoes on. So I can feel some anger and I can feel some joy, and I can feel some pain, and I can feel some pleasure, and they all be in the
The
pot.
mix somehow, yes.
Yeah, at the same time.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Detrick. I really appreciate it. I know we have so much to talk about and only half an hour to fit it in. So I was like, oh, we gotta get everything in. Tell
Yeah.
everybody where they can find you. I know that you have a quiz that they can take for their sex expression, and I know that you have a course coming up soon. Tell them about both.
Yeah, very, very quickly. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I have a program called Meet the Yoni. That's a whole nother sermon for a whole nother Sunday. To talk about pretty much men in particular, but for people in general, to develop what I call their sex expression, their sexual expression. It's so I talk to men about men, but more importantly about showing up with the feminine, with the women in their lives, with the female, and whether that be mom, daughter, partner, whatever, how we show up, right? And so as men, a lot of times what we say is, well, you know, I pay the bills, I've taken care of things, I got it. You know, I got it. I don't need anything. And so I put together an assessment. If you go to beherpleasure.com, yep, that's about it, beherpleasure.com, it'll redirect you. And what I want to find out is if you are a virtuoso, specifically as it relates to things around just understanding the female, the feminine body, because I think it has been underappreciated. And in there, we talk about everything from anatomy all the way over to you know, the big O word to, you know, to pleasure.
Okay. So beherpleasure.com.
That's right. Rather than be just her partner, be her pleasure.
I like it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Detrick. I appreciate your expertise and your understanding and sharing it with us all. I hope that you all got something out of it. I want to see all the guys going over to Be Her Pleasure on behalf of the women in your life. Go to beherpleasure.com and always remember to love generously, to laugh ostentatiously. I'm always telling you to cacaw, to guffaw in your laughter. Move your body, dance, shake it, move your tail feather. Sleep, get at least 7 hours of sleep every single day. Give and eat more plant-based, stress less, and of course, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Audit your assumptions. Thank you so much for being with us on Spiritual Thursdays. I'm your host, Dr. Monica Ovando. See you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was magical.
One love, guys. One love.
Hello.